So Nadine, here we are in your office and there's a lot going on in the world. There is a once-in-a-generation cost of living crisis. There's a war in Europe. We're recovering from this global pandemic. It seems like cancel culture is out of control and there's lots of institutions wanting to override British history. Yet, for what seems like, I think about the past 4 months, the thing that the political establishment and the media elite have been absolutely obsessed with is something that has become known as Partygate. What do you think that obsession is about?
Gosh, well, I think it channels a lot of the post-pandemic emotion that people are experiencing. So I think the way it's being portrayed is not right. But I think it's important to say that the word Partygate is just, it's a misnomer. Number 10 is an office building with an iconic front door. And it was a workplace. Parties, as far as I'm concerned, take place socially. This was people in their own workplace. But I think it's, the tag Partygate is an easy tag to put on something it's just, it's just a gimmick title. But I think it's actually quite it's misleading. But I know from the Prime Minister's perspective that walking from one meeting to another in a different room, from his office into the cabinet room, and being met with the cake that you never saw, that stayed in
the
his
Tupperware
box.
container.
So I was with him in cabinet, after this all came out, and he went to me, there was no cake. He seemed to be very, he couldn't understand why people were talking about a cake. He never saw a cake. So, and people just wished him happy birthday, and I think words were said about what was going on in the pandemic, and then he went into the next meeting along with Rishi. So I think some of this has been kind of blown out of proportion, and it's a shame, because there are people out there who went through some very, very tough times during the pandemic.
Do you feel it's wrong for Keir Starmer to politicise those stories?
I actually do. I met with many, many people during my 2 years in health, both people who worked in the NHS, who'd lost their own loved ones, and people who'd been through very difficult times. And I think it's wrong to use those very raw emotions and those experiences that people have been through to distort something that they know has happened politically in Number 10. To make those comparisons is wrong.
There's a lot of lack of perspective, isn't there? And it feels like now there is a campaign to subvert democracy and subvert the democratic process. I mean, we have local elections coming up on the 5th of May. That is an opportunity for people to go to the ballot box and say what they think. But to me, it feels like parts of the media, a lot of the media for a long time have essentially been campaigning to try and remove Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, partly because of the Brexit vote.
Of course they have. And it's not just the Brexit vote. There are a large number of people very active out there. And I understand, many people who are not involved in Westminster or politics will think, well, Brexit's done now, let's move on. That's not what is happening in Westminster. There are people in Westminster desperately, including, just commentators and many individuals and organisations who are desperate to make sure that the Prime Minister is removed before the next election, because they feel that this is their last desperate chance to reverse some of what's happened with Brexit. They won't have a vote to reverse Brexit, but what it'll be, death of Brexit by 1,000 cuts. They will change the narrative. Suddenly it will be, well, it's better to go along with the German way of doing this. And it will be too difficult not to concede to what the French are asking for. It will be a different undoing of Brexit, but they're determined to make that happen. And the only way they can make that happen, the only man who is standing in front of the bulwark that is Brexit is Boris Johnson. And if they can remove him, then they know they've got a very strong chance of reversing what's been done. If he goes into the next election and he wins the next election, then they know it's game over. But they are desperately determined. And I hope people can see that. I hope people can see how determined they are to remove the Prime Minister before the next election.
Can I just clarify this piece of what Boris claimed was fake news today in PMQs, did he make any comments about the BBC and the Church of England in regards to Putin at the meeting last night?
So I think, again, what has happened in a deliberate attempt to smear the Prime Minister, possibly, is that there has been a conflation between the Prime Minister's comments on reporters in the Ukraine and his comments regarding the Archbishop. I don't know what has been said, but there is absolutely no way that the Prime Minister has criticised any journalist or any news organisation in terms of their coverage of Ukraine.
So this was about Justin Welby and his comments about Rwanda. That's what the Prime Minister was referring to.
Justin Welby's comments about Rwanda, you know, what are his alternatives? 27 people died crossing the channel last year, including children. We've all seen the horrible photographs, the little boy lying dead on a beach. What is his alternative? And I'm afraid I think Justin Welby was very wrong in his Easter Sunday service to use that platform to make a political attack against the elected government of the day and the Prime Minister. If he'd stood on that platform and said, this is what I think the government should do, but to say it was ungodly and to use that platform to attack the government was just wrong.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.